Political parties reject amended Electoral Act, demand key revisions. Governor Makinde reaffirms commitment to PDP. Trailer crash in Ibadan leaves many feared dead, injures several. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on the news around the world. I am Ifeoluwa Olaoye, and on the sign language corner is Shakirat Ogundeji. Political parties under the umbrella of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, have rejected the amended Electoral Act 2026, calling for an urgent revision of key provisions during a consultative meeting with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, today in Abuja. The council described the act as a regressive framework that threatens the integrity of the 2027 general election. IPAC National Chairman Dr. Yusuf Maman Dantali called on the National Assembly to urgently repeal and amend the legislation to prevent a democratic crisis. Dr. Dantali expressed deep concern that the current act places immense pressure on political parties and lacks the inclusiveness required for a stable democracy. He noted that the legislative framework has failed to reflect the contributions made by Nigerians during public hearings, leading to a significant trust deficit and rising voter apathy. The council specifically criticized the timing of INEC's election timetable, arguing it was built on a contentious legal foundation that places immense strains on parties outside of the government. IPAC also appealed to international developmental partners to use their diplomatic influence to ensure Nigeria's democratic process remains sustainable and transparent. The council insists that the National Assembly must restore the option for indirect primaries to ensure that candidate selection remains an internal party affair rather than a mandated legislative process. Additionally, IPAC demanded the immediate removal of the requirements for parties to submit membership registers containing national identification numbers, NIN, by April 2026, citing the risk of disenfranchising Nigerians who lack access to registration facilities. Furthermore, the leadership called for the establishment of an Electoral Offences Commission to combat vote buying and strengthening of penalties for electoral malpractice to safeguard the sanctity of the ballots. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has convened a meeting with leaders of political parties at its headquarters in Abuja to unveil and deliberate on new electoral guidelines ahead of the 2027 general elections. In attendance at the meeting are chairmen and secretaries of political parties as well as their representatives. The meeting is focused on presenting and discussing newly drafted electoral guidelines designed to govern the conduct of the 2027 polls. The development follows the enactment of the Electoral Act 2026, which necessitated a review of existing procedures. According to the INEC chairman, the updated guidelines are aligned with the provisions of the new electoral law, noting that political parties and other stakeholders can no longer operate within the evolving electoral framework using outdated regulations. The Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, has declared that the People's Democratic Party, PDP Elective Congress, held in Ibadan, the state capital, in November last year, remains valid, reaffirming his administration's commitment to the party's preparations ahead of the 2027 general elections. Governor Makinde made this known during a high-level stakeholders meeting held at the Oyo State Local Government Service Commission Secretariat in Ibadan. Details are presented by the Governor's Office correspondent, Olalekan Sulaiman.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP stakeholders closed-door meeting held at the Oyo State Local Government Service Commission, Secretariat, Ibadan, brought together cabinet members, party leaders, political appointees, and key loyalists to deliberate on the party's direction amidst internal challenges and broader national political climate. Briefing journalists after the meeting, The Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, emphasized that despite ongoing disputes within the party at the national level, the party in Oyo State remains resolute and focused. The governor further stressed that ensuring the PDP presence on the ballot in the 2027 is non-negotiable. While addressing concerns about internal divisions, the governor assured his supporters that he and his political camp will remain within the PDP and contest the 2027 elections on the party's platform. Governor Makinde further highlighted the importance of unity across all levels of the party structure, urging stakeholders to return to their constituency, including state, federal, and senatorial districts, to engage in wider consultations. Despite the challenges facing the PDP, the governor expressed confidence in the party's ability to resolve its differences and remain competitive, noting that unity and strategic coordination will be crucial to its success in the 2027 general elections. Olalekan Sulaiman, BCOS News.
We shall now take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
Win your share of 3 billion naira with Nivea. 1,000 naira airtime guaranteed with every entry. Become one of 10 millionaires weekly or win a chance to see Real Madrid live. 3 SUVs to be won. Buy any Nivea 400ml promo product, scratch and dial to enter.
Alright everyone, no put your ears, make we talk. Time don't reach to rearrange this house to give una small wisdom. Sounds mighty fresh now, but you know, I beg no be so. Before una go talk, say our smell no reach. Make una think I'm twice so.
Ever heard of Colgate, the #1 oral care brand in the world?
Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection unlocks 24 hours cavity defense. The formula boost with calcium for lifelong smiles.
Mom, it's a time to brush. No more cover mouth.
Colgate for 24 hours maximum cavity protection.
Win your share of 3 billion naira with Nivea. 1,000 naira airtime guaranteed with every entry. Become one of 10 millionaires weekly or win a chance to see Real Madrid live. 3 SUVs to be won. Buy any Nivea 400ml promo product, scratch and dial to enter.
Thank you for staying with us. Operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission today moved to take over the Maitama residence of former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, in Abuja. EFCC operatives, reportedly led by Folarin Sunday Dare, arrived in about 5 buses and, dressed in their red and black jackets, heavily armed, barricaded the road leading to Malami's residence. A member of Malami's household, Shehu Koko, confirmed during an interview with journalists in Maitama, Abuja, that they met the former Minister of Justice at his residence. Koko stated that the EFCC operatives did not present any valid court order, but Malami chose to step out quietly to avoid causing a scene with the officials. Speaking further, he said the operative were fully kitted and fully armed and said they were instructed to come and take over the property of former Minister Abubakar Malami. A federal high court sitting in Kaduna State has adjourned proceedings on the bail application of former Governor Nasir El-Rufai to March 31, 2026. This comes after today's hearing, during which legal arguments were presented by both the prosecution and the defense. Counsel to the defendant, Upon Akpan, urged the court to grant his client bail, citing constitutional rights and the need to allow the former governor adequate time to prepare his defense. The prosecution, however, opposed the application, arguing that the charges against El-Rufai are serious and that granting bail could interfere with ongoing investigations. An Ikeja Special Offences Court today sentenced an ex-convict, Adekola Oluokun, to 3 years imprisonment for laundering 12 million naira. Justice Rahman Ushodi convicted and sentenced Oluokun to a one-count charge of money laundering brought by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Oluokun was arraigned on March 16 and pleaded guilty to the charge. Delivering judgment, Justice Oshodi held that the offense constituted money laundering and emphasized that the convict was not a first-time offender. The judge, however, acknowledged the convict's early guilty plea and willingness to make restitution. Consequently, the court sentenced Oluokun to 3 years imprisonment, and health experts are raising concerns over the continued spread.
Tuberculosis, commonly known as TB, remains a serious public health challenge in Nigeria despite ongoing intervention efforts. A public health practitioner, Dr. Olugbade Omotajo, explained that the disease is transmitted through airborne droplets released when an infected person coughs. According to him, individuals who inhale these droplets are at risk, especially those in close contact with infected persons. Dr. Omotajo identified 2 categories of people with tuberculosis: carriers and patients, explaining that while patients are aware of their condition and undergoing treatment, carriers may be unaware, making them more likely to spread the disease unknowingly.
The worst of the two is the carrier, because the carrier doesn't know, so it's not any form of care. And so it goes from one point to the other, disseminating, distributing, sharing, like the gift that he or she has. We have cough, which is predominant. We have loss of weight, which is also predominant, which is also very, very important. The next other thing is bloody sputum. That is, they cough out blood. And then the duration, when cough has gone for a particular length of time and is not resolving, despite everything, despite your cough syrup, despite your antibiotics, you are told to suspect TB.
Dr. Omotajo listed persistent cough, weight loss, coughing up blood, and night sweats as common symptoms of tuberculosis, urging anyone with a prolonged cough to seek prompt medical attention. He added that tuberculosis is both preventable and treatable through early vaccination and access to designated treatment centers, noting that active case search and community-based interventions are helping curb its spread.
Every child that is born, we get the day that person is born, will be vaccinated. We call it BCG vaccination. And a child that doesn't meet it has a very low likelihood of attaining adult life with TB, or having, in fact, the possibility of being infected with TB is drastically reduced. So we are not concentrating, we are not thinking only along the line of treatment, but prevention.
Also speaking, the program manager, Tuberculosis and Leprosy Control Program in Oyo State, Dr. Zainab Rabiu, described tuberculosis as an infectious disease caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, primarily affecting the lungs, but capable of spreading to other parts of the body. She explained that the disease is transmitted through the air when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or speaks. Dr. Rabiu identified symptoms such as a persistent cough lasting 2 weeks or more, fever, night sweats, and weight loss, adding that complications may arise when other organs are affected.
However, there are other symptoms that the person might have, especially if it affects other parts of the body. This includes back pain if the bones of the back are affected, weakness of the limbs, bending of the back. There might be swelling in the jaw or areas where there are lymph nodes, general weakness, easy fatigue. The person gets tired easily. So these are some of these symptoms, depending on the other organs that are affected. For the one that affects the lung, cough of 2 weeks or more, very important, fever, weight loss, and drenching night sweat.
On prevention and treatment, Dr. Rabi urged individuals experiencing symptoms to visit the nearest primary health care center for proper testing and diagnosis. She noted that trained health workers are available across facilities and emphasizes that tuberculosis testing and treatment are free in Nigeria. She added that World Tuberculosis Day serves as a reminder of the need to intensify awareness, especially as Nigeria remains among countries with a high burden of disease. Health experts therefore urge Nigerians to remain vigilant, seek early medical care, and support ongoing efforts aimed at eliminating tuberculosis.
Meanwhile, the Osun State government has urged residents of the state who are manifesting symptoms of tuberculosis to present themselves for screening to prevent death from the disease. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Dr. Isiaka Adekunle, stated this today while speaking during an awareness campaign and free screening held in Osogbo, the state capital, to mark this year's World Tuberculosis Day. The awareness campaign, organized by the ministry, had health practitioners and volunteers in attendance. It commenced at Freedom Park, Osogbo, and moved through the Igbono area, where officials engaged residents on the importance of early detection of tuberculosis cases. The walk later terminated at the Ayetoro area, where interested residents underwent free tuberculosis screening. Speaking during the awareness campaign, the Permanent Secretary, represented by the Director of Public Health, Osun State Ministry of Health, Dr. Akim Bello, stated the readiness of the Governor Ademola Adeleke's administration to intensify screening and ensure effective management of detected cases. On government efforts to curb the spread of the disease in the state, Adekunle dispelled myths about the disease. The medical practitioner implored residents not to see tuberculosis as a spiritual affliction or attack and advised them to present those with persistent cough, weight loss, and prolonged fever for screening. Presenting Osun State data on the disease in the last quarter of 2025, the program manager in the Osun State Ministry of Health in charge of tuberculosis, leprosy, and Buroli ulcer control, Dr. Rotimi Oladili, said between September and December 2025, the state recorded 4,000 new cases of tuberculosis. Nigeria has successfully enrolled over 6.5 million pregnant women in its triple elimination program, a milestone in the prevention of mother-to-child transmission of HIV, hepatitis B, and syphilis. The Executive Secretary, Country Coordinating Mechanism at Global Fund, Mr. Tajuddin Ibrahim, said this at the 14th Ministerial Oversight Committee meeting of the Basic Health Care Provision Fund on Tuesday in Abuja. The meeting was convened by the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. Ibrahim said the achievement reflects improved data management, health facility coverage, and targeted interventions across the country. He noted that Nigeria previously lagged behind some West African countries in reaching pregnant women with essential health services. According to him, 99% of pregnant women were tested for HIV in 2025, surpassing the national target of 95%, while parental and partner testing reached 95%. He emphasized that reaching over 6.5 million women marks the greatest efforts to date in preventing mother-to-child transmission of these diseases. According to him, the country recorded 42,000 new HIV infections in 2025, while antiretroviral ARV coverage stood at 77%, highlighting areas that require intensified efforts. He said the initiative and other innovations would help Nigeria transition from basic care to quality care at all levels of the health system. He also highlighted Nigeria's tuberculosis and malaria achievements. The Oyo State government has stepped up efforts to improve environmental management with the inspection of a proposed 44-acre waste-to-wealth project site alongside ongoing waste evacuation in parts of Ibadan. The initiative is designed to convert waste into valuable resources while promoting a cleaner and healthier environment. Our reporter, Folashade Akintola, now reports.
The Oyo State government, in collaboration with private partners, is advancing plans to revolutionize waste management through Waste-to-Wealth initiative. The Commissioner for Environment and Natural Resources, Honorable Ademola Aderinto, during an inspection of the proposed 44-acre site, described the project as dual-purpose solutions aimed at converting waste into wealth while addressing the challenges of overburdened landfill. He explained that the initiative will develop a material recovery system where waste will be sorted and processed, leaving only a minimum fraction as residual waste.
The people of Oyo State will benefit immensely from this project. If you look at the landfills we have right now, even though they are overpressured with waste, but there's so much wealth and utilities for the people of Oyo State locked in there. Like we said earlier, cooking gas, bio cooking gas, bio CNG to drive equipment and vehicles, electricity generation. As a matter of fact, the data we have says from all those landfills will generate as much as about 120 megawatts.
According to the Commissioner, the project will generate biogas, electricity and fertilizer with the capacity to produce up to 120 megawatts of power, potentially exceeding the state's current consumptions. He added that the initiative aligns with the visions of Governor Seyi Makinde to promote sustainable development and economic growth. Meanwhile, the Managing Director of Sector Lead, Mr. Adedayo Mustafa, described the initiative as a groundbreaking innovation yet to be seen in West Africa.
For every waste we use at home, as far as they are waking up and sleeping, we generate waste. So our own job is to get this waste onto these our plants, convert it to about 7 different products, ranging from energy to fertilizer to gas to RDF. And our own objective is to sell these products into the general public, which already have the off-taker, people that will buy from us before we even start production.
He noted that the project is expected to both internally generated revenue and significantly improve environmental conditions across the state. The inspection team also visited Anochewe market along the Ojo Road Expressway, where authorities are evacuating illegal dump waste. The Commissioner expressed concern over indiscriminate waste disposed by some residents, describing the practice as unhealthy and unsustainable. He stressed that such actions pose serious health risk and hinder development and tarnish the image of the state.
Our laws on environmental management, environmental sanitation, ensuring that you are aligned with your waste collector instead of having to put loss into your own hands by putting it on water path which will cause flooding, by putting it in the median that defaces the state and puts government and the people of Oyo State in disrepute. We are appealing to the residents of Oyo State and Ibadan in particular to stop this.
Residents were advised to engage approved waste collectors and report service lapses through appropriate channels rather than resorting to illegal dumping. Folashade Akintola, BCOS News.
The Oyo State Police Command has recorded a breakthrough in its efforts to curb criminal activities with the arrest of a suspected robbery syndicate in Ibadan. According to a statement by the Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Ayolade Olayinka, the arrest followed credible intelligence received by operatives of the Command Monitoring Unit. The information revealed that a group of suspected armed robbers who specialize in using tricycles to dispose unsuspecting residents of their valuables were hiding in a hotel around the 7-Up Academy area of Ibadan. Acting on the intelligence, police operatives carried out a coordinated sting operation, leading to the arrest of 6 suspects. Those arrested include Kelvin Daniel, aged 21, Idris Ramon, 25, Christopher Solomon, 35, Mohammed Talim, 21, Taurid Aderibibe, 30, and Adekunle Tolani, 27. Items recovered from the suspects include 18 mobile phones, 1 OPay ATM card, a national identification number card, a tricycle with registration number OYO SHK 508 QP, believed to have been used for their operations. Preliminary investigations indicate that the suspects have confessed to being members of a syndicate involved in robbing residents within the Ibadan metropolis. The police command says investigations are ongoing and that the suspects will be charged to court upon conclusion. The command has, however, commended members of the public for providing useful information and urged residents to continue supporting security agencies with timely and credible intelligence. In another development, the Oyo State Police Command has rescued a kidnapped victim unhurt following a coordinated security operation as efforts intensify to apprehend the fleeing suspect. According to a statement by the Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Ayolade Olayinka, the incident was reported at the Ujungbodo Division, where armed hoodlums invaded a community in Oyo and abducted a male victim while also stealing mobile phones and 2 motorcycles. Following the reports, the divisional police officer mobilized a joint team of police operatives, the Amotekun Corps, vigilantes and local hunters to track down the suspects. The team carried out an intensive search of surrounding bushes and escape routes with additional support from the command's anti-kidnapping squad. The operation also involved the use of geolocation tracking and other intelligence gathering strategies to enhance the rescue efforts. Police say sustained pressure from the security team forced the abductors to abandon the victim, who escaped unhurt and has since been reunited with his family. The victim has also been debriefed to assist ongoing investigations. The command has assured residents of its commitment to protecting lives and property, noting that patrol and security deployments have been intensified across the state. Efforts are ongoing to arrest the suspect, while members of the public are urged to remain vigilant and provide credible information to security agencies. A tragic road accident in Ibadan, Oyo State capital, has claimed the lives of at least 3 individuals and left several others with varying degrees of injury after a heavy-duty trailer reportedly suffered brake failure. According to eyewitness accounts, the articulated vehicle was descending from Bere roundabout after passing through Ojaoba when it developed mechanical faults. Unable to regain control, the driver reportedly lost braking power as the trailer approached Bere Junction, causing the vehicle to veer dangerously off course. In the ensuing chaos, the trailer plowed into multiple road users, including cars, commercial motorcycles, and pedestrians, resulting in extensive damage and casualties. Witnesses described scenes of panic and devastation as people scrambled for safety, while others were caught in the path of the out-of-control vehicle. The most severe impact was recorded in the Isoso area, widely known as Orange Market, where the trailer caused significant destruction to property and left several victims critically injured. Traders and residents in the bustling commercial hub were particularly affected, with goods destroyed and structures damaged. Emergency responders and security personnel arrived promptly at the scene, working to restore order, evacuate victims, and manage traffic disruptions caused by the incident. Authorities have since secured the area to prevent further harm and facilitate rescue operations. The deceased have been deposited in a mortuary, while the injured have been rushed to nearby medical facilities where they are currently receiving treatment. The condition of some victims is reported to be critical, as the incident has cast a pall of grief over the local community, with residents expressing shock and sorrow at the scale of the tragedy. Meanwhile, the Oyo State Rule of Law Enforcement Authority, ORLIA, alongside the security operatives and the Environmental Task Force, continued its enforcement operations against street and roadside trading across major markets in Ibadan. The exercise targeted recalcitrant traders at OJ markets as the first point of call, among others, as the authority was there a couple of days ago with the unyielding act of displaying goods on road setbacks, walkways, and the roadway shoulder, obstructions that endanger motorists and pedestrians. As the completion of the operation, Aurelia's team proceeded to Mokola roundabout to continue routine enforcement. Minutes later, distress reports reached the enforcement team from market traders that a fatal accident had occurred at Bere Oje axis. Officials immediately redirected efforts to the scene to assess the situation. Preliminary findings revealed that a truck allegedly suffered brake failure, lost control as eyewitnesses informed the authority while descending from Bere towards Oje markets, ramming into tricycles, trader stalls, and people. Fatalities were reported and unconfirmed numbers were injured. The tragedy reinforces Aurelia's warning against street trading and highway obstructions. Trailers, kiosks, and merchandise forced into walkways and road shoulders turn public spaces into death traps. When brakes fail, when vehicles swerve, there is no escape for those trading illegally. The chairperson of Aurelia, Honorable Justice Aderunke Aderemi, retired, while commenting on the exercise, appealed to marketmen and women to vacate roadways, setbacks, and walkways to ensure safety first before any other enforcement is a non-stop exercise, and we will continue to protect lives, she added. Over now to Sports Desk.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on the sports segment of the news. I am Victor Pune.
We start with the news that Shooting Star Sports Club have joined the entire football community in Nigeria with mourning the passing of Zubairu Sani, president of the Nigeria Referees Association. The news of the demise of the president of the Nigeria Referees Association, NRA, Alhaji Sani Zubairu, was received with profound sadness and a deep sense of loss. Several stakeholders in Nigeria's Football Federation, the Nigeria Referees Football Association, and the entire football community in Nigeria grieved the painful exit of a devoted servant of the game whose impact on refereeing and football development in Nigeria remains indelible. Nigeria international and Galatasaray striker Victor Osimhen has had a successful surgery on his broken arm, the club has confirmed. The former African Player of the Year suffered a fractured right forearm during the Turkish side's Champions League clash against Liverpool at Anfield. Still in football, Lyon have pushed back against PSG's request to postpone their top-of-the-table League One clash scheduled for April 11 after PSG sought additional preparation time ahead of their Champions League quarterfinals against Liverpool. Leaders PSG and Lyon are separated by 1 point in League One, with Luis Enrique's side also having a game in hand. Earlier today, Zurich police initiated mass arrests in relation to corruption in football in connection with betting. It was reported across Zurich media, stating that the police had already detained thousands of people, with players, referees, and top-tier clubs involved in the case. The leadership of the Football Association of the Czech Republic, FSCR, called an extraordinary meeting of the executive committee shortly after the story broke. After that, its chairman, David Tronda, confirmed the investigation at a press conference, saying that it is the result of 3 years of work and that the federation has cooperated in the process for a long time. We wrap up with the news that the Football Supporters Europe Group, FSE, filed a lawsuit earlier today with the European Commission against football's world governing body, FIFA, over excessive ticket prices for this year's World Cup finals. The FSE and the Euro Consumers Group set the tickets for the June 11 to July 19 tournament in the US, Canada, and Mexico were overpriced and complained that FIFA has a monopoly over the sales.
And with that, we have come to the end of the news from the ever-exciting world of sports. Thank you for joining. I am Victor Pone. Over to the main desk now for the rest of the news.
A Colombian military plane carrying 125 soldiers and crew members crashed on takeoff, killing at least 66 people and injuring dozens of others, officials have said. Reports, however, say investigators are probing the cause of the crash. Foreign Desk Editor Folashade Akintola compiled the story and others as presented by staff reporter Bimbo Akombi.
The C-130 Hercules aircraft went down shortly after departure from Puerto Leguizamo near the southern border with Ecuador and Peru, strewing burning wreckage on the jungle floor. A military source said that 58 soldiers had died, along with 6 Air Force personnel and 2 police officers. The updated toll came shortly after the local government secretary, Carlos Claros, told RCN television that 33 people had died and that efforts were being made to treat and evacuate dozens of others injured. He added that investigators were probing the cause of the crash. The border area where the plane went down has been the scenery of heavy military activity in recent weeks, as the Colombian and Ecuadorian militaries try to tackle drug-running cartels and militias. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos declared a state of national energy emergency on Tuesday, citing risks to the domestic fuel supply and energy stability created by the Middle East war. The state of emergency was declared just hours after the country's energy secretary said the Philippines planned to boost the output of its coal-fired power plants to keep electricity costs down as the war wreaks havoc with gas shipments. The order authorizes the country's Department of Energy to make advance payments of 15% to secure fuel contracts while taking direct action against hoarding or profiteering. The order also grants the Transportation Department the ability to direct public transportation fuel subsidies and reduce or suspend toll charges and aviation fees while fast-tracking aid to individuals in crisis situations. The Philippines, which has some of the region's highest energy costs, is heavily dependent on imported fuel to keep its power plants running. Energy Secretary Sharon Garin told reporters earlier Tuesday that with the cost of LNG, that is liquefied natural gas, soaring, the country would temporarily be forced to lean even more heavily on the carbon-belching fossil fuel. And finally, at least 5 people have been killed in Russian strikes across Ukraine after a massive overnight aerial bombardment targeted several regions across the country. A 61-year-old woman was killed when a drone hit an electric train in Kharkiv early on Tuesday, authorities said, while other deaths were reported in Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, and Poltava. Officials said the attacks were among the worst in 10 days and came hours after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had warned of a forthcoming massive strike in his nightly address. Russian strikes targeted energy infrastructure, also disconnected Moldova's key power link with Europe, President Maya Sandu said, warning the situation remained fragile. Sirens wailed across Ukraine on Monday night as Russia launched a barrage of missiles and drones at the country. 7 ballistic missiles, 23 cruise missiles, 4 air-launched guided missiles, and 392 drones were used in the attack, the Ukrainian Air Force said in a statement on Telegram. Bimbo Akambi, BCOS News.
To end the news around the world, here again are the main points. Political parties under the umbrella of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, have rejected the Amendment Electoral Act 2026, calling for an urgent revision of several key provisions. The Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, has declared that the People's Democratic Party, PDP Elective Congress held in Ibadan, the state capital, in November last year, remains valid, reaffirming his administration's commitment to the party's preparations ahead of the 2027 general elections. A tragic road accident in Ibadan, Oyo State capital, has claimed the lives of at least 3 individuals and left several others with varying degrees of injury after a heavy-duty trailer reportedly suffered brake failure. A Colombian military plane carrying 125 soldiers and crew members crashed on takeoff, killing at least 66 people and injuring dozens of others, officials have said. BCOS website is live. Kindly visit www.bcostv.com. You can watch us on GoTV channel 134 and channel 113 on Star Times. Now, before I go, don't join hoodlums in threatening the peaceful coexistence of the country. It is only in an atmosphere of peace that development thrives. That ends the news around the world. Thank you for watching. Good evening.